Mila Grigg owns one of the most recognized branding groups in the United States and has 20 years of experience as a brand consultant, helping to build leadership equity within the organizations and also helping build personal brands. In her debut book, Forged by Fire, which is already a bestseller, Mila is opening up about her own story of resilience and fortitude and how those struggles have helped her to grow her career. Mila has worked with some of the most recognizable Fortune 500 companies to do just that. Let's talk to her and understand the ways a personal brand can be used to grow a business from the inside out. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, TGV, for a better future. This is Naveen Samala, just a fellow IT professional on a mission to make the world a better place to live. Through the Guiding Voice, successful leaders and inspiring individuals across the globe share their insights with the world, and our audience will acquire more knowledge and wisdom per every minute by tuning into our platform than any other podcast in this space, because we drive conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and your career. Thank you so much for joining me. We are extremely pleased to have Mila. Mila, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice, and I'm super thrilled to host you today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Mila, let's get started. Maybe you can share your snippets of career journey with our audience first.
Sure. I will say it's a piece of luck after another. I started in branding in NASCAR, which is quite an interesting sport in itself, and learned about brand when I was very young, and then really quickly realized that I had a gift, and it was to be able to see what people were doing well or not doing very well in business. And so I've been in thousands of closets, if you can believe it or not, helping with image and then helping people to build executives on any level, really at this point, to build their personal brand and share their story. And so the company just kept growing without, I wish I could look back and say, gosh, over these past 20 years, I had a master plan and I'm so brilliant, but I didn't. It really just kept growing out of necessity and, sharing the right story, and come to find out people really, in a world that's moving so quickly with social media, they're not sharing their stories, and companies are having a harder time sharing their purpose and their stories. So just started to consult, and it grew from there. I mean, that's the quickest way I can share that last 20 years.
That's quite an illustrative journey you had in terms of building the personal brands as well as building the corporate brands, and that's awesome to know. And Mila, what is your success mantra? And can you probably share top 3 things that have helped you to be successful in your professional life?
Yeah, to realize it's not about me. I have a strong faith, and so my faith is the number one thing that pushes me forward. To know that I am not alone in this, and that there's a purpose in my life. I think so many of us get stuck and don't realize that we have a purpose, and we forget what it is. And take risks. Take as many risks as you can, and fail all the time, and fail fast. And realize that life is all about failing and doing it well, and then being successful. So I would say, you asked for 3, but those are my 2. Faith and taking risks are the 2 biggest things that have allowed me to move forward and to do it as fast as I possibly can.
That's spot on. Let's now jump into the branding aspect, so which is essential for the corporates, individuals, leaders, executives. Everybody has to focus on this personal branding. So how can someone develop an unstoppable personal brand?
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole reason I wrote the book was to ensure that everybody had the steps. There's so many books out there that you can buy, right? You can learn about leadership, you can learn about communication, you can learn about emotional intelligence and body language and how to read people, even on a Zoom, right? Like I'm sitting here trying to read you and to try to figure out what I'm saying is working for you or not working for you, and then trying to shift. All of those things are a part of your personal brand. So your brand is what people think about you. It's how people describe you when you're not in the room. So the first step is to understand where your brand is. So many people think that they're leaders, but they're not. And other people think that they're liked, but they're not. And so my job is to go, here's what people really think. Here's who you really are. Those 2 things aren't working, and you're sending the wrong messages. Let's go ahead and figure out your core values. Let's talk about your purpose. Let's talk about what you want your legacy to be. And then we'll go ahead and start sharing the story so you don't miss opportunity, whether that's title. Some people want a raise and promotion when it comes to money. Other people are really like, hey, look, I like where I'm at, but my title doesn't really tell people what I do, and or I'm missing so many opportunities. So the personal brand piece is who you are, and then how you share authentically who you are in every conversation that you have, whether it's on the phone, via email or Zoom or whatever it might be. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Absolutely. You covered one important aspect of virtual communication because more than half of the world has gone remote, right? So I think it is important to focus on that aspect, which really helped me, and I'm sure it is going to help our audience as well. So that's an interesting aspect. And now let's focus on how someone should share their story and add value with the world.
Man, that's such a great question, because I think it's the one thing that most people that I coach have no idea how to do. Or they'll tell me, hey, look, I don't have any interesting stories to share, but we all do, right? So the first piece that you have to do is know what your core values are. Just like a great company has value statements or a purpose, you have to know what your core values are, because those values, those 3 to 5 key words. So if you go, look, I want everybody to know that I have integrity, I work hard, and I do things with excellence. Well, then you know what? You need to go back and talk to yourself and write down every story in your life, how you were raised, where you went to school, why you're going to school, things that have happened that are good, that are bad, failures, successes, things that you've learned, books that you've read, and write those things down so that when you're meeting with your boss, or you're meeting with a potential client, or you're meeting with somebody who really values integrity or really values excellence, you have your stories. Like honestly, Naveen, you can't go into a meeting and say, hey, I work harder than all of you, right? Like that, you can't do that. You can't say, I have more integrity than you do. I mean, how on earth can you do that? But you want people to know certain things about you, but we just have a really hard time sharing those in a way where we don't seem like we're selling or we're being cheesy, right? So you really need to have your stories written down. So, Naveen, if I know that you value integrity, I will somehow try to work in a story for myself about integrity, something that I've gone through, done, read, or seen, so that you and I can connect. If I know that you have a certain hobby and I have the same one, I'm going to somehow work that story into a connection with you, because I care and because it's authentic to me and I want to connect with you. That's my whole goal, right? I want us to be friends. I want us to, know each other and stay in touch. And so typically people aren't telling their stories because they don't know what they are, and then they haven't practiced telling them in a way that creates a connection with the person on the other side. So know what they are, know what your core values are, and then the third thing, and lastly, know what your audience needs, right? Know what your audience needs. Before I got on this with you, I tried to look you up and see everything I possibly could so that I could bond with you in moments where it seemed authentic and real, right? So that's the idea. Know what they are, then share them appropriately.
So it is better to have the values written and have the stories ready. And that brings me to the next question. Like, you also advise people should speak based on the experience and not opinion. Why is it so?
Yeah, I think, a couple of reasons. Social media has really changed the way that we all communicate. And really, social media is supposed to be a way that we communicate to share thoughts. But what we've seen on social and in life is that people are sharing ideas and they're sharing things that they haven't gone through. They haven't experienced themselves or haven't read about or been closely related to. And so they have no brand equity, right? If I want to go talk about fishing, no one needs to listen to me. I've never done it. And I don't have any equity in it. I have no experience in it at all. So I think that, a lot of people are yelling online and yelling on social and in emails. And part of me goes, how do you have the equity to talk about what you're talking about? So many people feel like they're not heard. And I'm going, man, you deserve to be heard in this line of work or in this business. But at the end of the day, you haven't built the equity to be able to say, I've done it, I've experienced it. This is why you should listen to me and take your valuable time and actually listen to what I have to say. So if you haven't lived it or experienced it, what on earth are you talking about it? You have to, and again, you can read 10 books, you can do all the things. It's so easy to learn now. So you really can't speak just off the fly, like, well, I don't think you should do that. Well, why don't you think I should do that? Or go ahead and start this business. Well, how do you know I should start this business? So the idea with brand is that you have to build equity, the things that you know. I do one thing well, that's it. My kids will tell you the same thing. I don't do anything well but branding. That's it. I have one gift. I mean, I think I like to think I'm funny sometimes. My kids would be like, no, you're not. I mean, I do one thing well and that's it. And so that's where I speak from. I speak from that one place of experience. And that's really, if you speak from what you think you know, you typically are going to you'll be obviously be inauthentic. And at some point you're eventually going to fail because you have to live it to know it.
That's great. Now let's talk about this non-verbal communication, which also plays a critical role when it comes to branding, when it comes to effectively communicating, and also dealing with emotional intelligence aspect. Right. So, how is this non-verbal communication linked to the EI or the EQ?
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. I love that you asked both. I said EQ and EI. People always want to know what those are, and you know, EQ is how you measure your emotional intelligence, right? So EI is a muscle that you can grow. I think there was a study that's in the book. There's so many studies in the book, and some of them are on EI. And most people think they have EI, and I think it's less than 10% actually do have a heightened level of emotional intelligence. There are tests that you can do to kind of try to figure this out. But at the end of the day, nonverbal communication is really important. It's if I'm not smiling at you and my face is hanging and if I'm resting my face in a terrible way, you're going to try to start reading these signals. If I overuse my hands when I talk, you're going to read those signals. Emotional intelligence, it's related to nonverbal for sure, but EI really is, I know how I'm feeling today. I know that I'm a little bit tired. I know that I'm a little bit frustrated with one of my kids. I know how I'm coming into this conversation, and I'm trying to then read how you're feeling so that I don't let any of my personal stuff interfere with being my best self for you and for all of your listeners, because that would kill me, right? So emotional intelligence is being able to know how I'm feeling emotionally. And then in a work environment, it's so important to be able to read people, which is where the nonverbal comes in. So if I'm in a room or I'm on a Zoom and I can see several people, I'm trying to, as fast as I can, pick up signals and signs, whether it's just an eye twitch or a hand move or someone doing a sigh, whatever it might be, so that I can quickly try to discern how people are feeling and then meet them where they are. Right. And a lot of people will just start talking. And I will watch on the side and go, oh, this person's really tired. They don't need all that you have to give today. Or this person's really frustrated and you're not meeting them where they are at all. So knowing how you feel, knowing how others feel, and then using the nonverbal signs to read what you think is going on inside of somebody is so important, because that allows you to go, this is what you need from me today. And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes what they need from you is just to listen. So being able to read those things and not go in guns blazing every meeting is really, really important.
Oh, yeah. That's another crucial set of points. And this brings me to the next question. Like you say, the energy of 40 years of life combined with the wisdom and experience of 80 years of experience, right? So how did you garner 80 years of experience in just 40 years?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. And I hear you ask it and I think, oh gosh, I want to be humble in my answer and know that, this is how I feel. Maybe it's more to mean that I sometimes feel like I'm 80 years old versus 40 something years old. But at the end of the day, we all go through ups and downs in life, and we go through trials in life, and those are unavoidable, right? There are days and there are years where I'll have a good set of years, a bad set of years, etc. And as I've, gotten older and walked through some fires in my life, some of which are in the book, you are able to learn much more quickly during a trial or a fire. And you are also, you're pressed and you really find out what you're made of when I felt like I was on fire walking through one of my trials, hence the title of the book. And so as you walk through trials in life, and again, we all do, we're always walking into a trial, we're in a trial, or we're walking out of a trial, right? There isn't really any downtime. And we know that life is going to do this whole up and down thing. I've just walked through some things in my life that have just been immensely difficult. And so I think during those moments, not only do you find out who you are, but you learn so much, not only about yourself, but about others and the world. And so it's really interesting when I meet people and they're like, I've really never walked through anything hard in my life. And my answer always, is, well, you will. You will. And I used to think, gosh, I can't believe that I walked through that kind of stuff and I hate it. But now I look back and I go, thank you, God, that I did, because I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be talking with you. And so you learn much more. You learn more when you're pressed. And I just happen to be pressed, I think, a little more than some people have. It's the short of it.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful statement you made. You learn a lot when you are pressed. It makes absolute sense to me. And now,
Yeah.
Mila, let's jump into your book, Forged by Fire. Can you briefly share the outline of what this book is all about and who the intended audience are?
Yeah. So the book, it's Forged by Fire, How to Develop an Unstoppable Personal Brand. So the Forged by, again, it's an experiencing. Forged by Fire is a bit of my story, but I'm a big nobody. If I were Warren Buffett, everybody would want to know my story. So it's a little piece of the book. And then it's just to develop, again, that brand equity. I know what I'm talking about because I've lived it. And then the how to develop an unstoppable personal brand really is, if you were my client and we sat down and we were going through a personal branding session and we were trying to build your brand, it would literally walk you through step by step in order of how to build that brand. There are exercises in the book, other books in the book that I recommend that you should read. So if you want more on leadership, I'll say, hey, go read a Maxwell book or a Lencioni book. If you want more on social media, I'm going to tell you to read a Gary Vaynerchuk book, So there are different pieces of different people as well in the book, but it truly is a step-by-step foundation from how do you build your brand? What is it? What is your why, your core values, how to get EI, nonverbal communication, all of those pieces, and then including how do you share a story with other people and on social media. So it's just really, I like to say it's kind of the Bible of personal branding. I mean, everything that you need to know. And then if there are pieces, if you're like, look, I get image, I'm really good at doing an image, or I'm good at storytelling, but I really need to work on EI. I'm like, great, here's a book you should read, and here are the pieces that you can work on. So I took every piece of branding, stuck it in one book, and then it allows you to learn from there. If you want to continue, it gives you the platform to do that.
Awesome. This seems to be a must read for whoever wants to really become an unstoppable brand and audience. You will find the link to the book in the show notes. And Mila, this has been fabulous conversation and enjoyed every bit of it. But let's get into a bit of your personal side. Okay, so I'm going to kick off a quick rapid fire questions and you can answer them briefly. All right. Let's get going. What is the let me find the first bullet. In which subject you were best at the school?
I'm not sure if I was good at any subject, to be honest with you. But later in life, I realized I was better at math than I ever thought. And in high school, I think I was best at talking. So if that tells you anything, there it is. Math later and talking earlier.
Moving to the next one. What is the best piece of advice that you have received so far, Mila?
Fail as much as you can and fail fast. Best piece of advice. It gave me the ability to take a risk or risks that I never would have taken. So fail fast and don't be afraid to do it.
Mm-hmm. And can you describe any strangest incident that happened in your life?
One of the strangest incidents, and I'm not sure if this is the great definition of the word, I was praying and I asked the Lord to reveal to me a 3 in the sky. And I'm not a big fan of testing God. But I was going through this fire in the book. It's actually a story in there. And I opened the window and there were 3 towers in the sky right in front of my hotel in the middle of a downtown. It was the most incredible thing that's ever happened. And I just knew at that moment that the Lord was with me and he would never leave me. So I think that was the craziest moment I've ever had.
Oh, wow. Quite an interesting one. And what is something that you like doing quite often?
Doing quite often, honestly, hanging out with my kids and my family. That's it. When you work and you're an entrepreneur, that's all you do. You work. So the thing that I like to do outside of that is kids. And one day when they go to college or start working, I think I'll find something else. But right now it's being with my babies as much as I can.
Much needed indeed. All right. So that brings me to the last one. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Man, I'd like to see a gadget where we could look on it and see what's going on in the world. Kind of like what Elon's done with Starlink, but in a way where we can actually see. Like right now, I would love to see what's actually going on in China and not have, that blocked. I'd like to be able to see anywhere we want and have a gadget like what's really going on during the protests, or what's really going on after a tsunami, or what's really going on as they celebrate something in another country. I want to see and be connected in a way where we can actually see what's going on and see authentically what's happening versus, pieces of the world still being so hidden. So I think that would be kind of cool.
Indeed. Good one, Mila. I loved it. And that was a fascinating rapid fire. With that, let's flip back to the mainstream. And before I let you go, what will be your message to those aspiring to begin their careers or lives?
Yeah, don't be missed. You have a purpose and you were created for a purpose. And there's a reason that you're here. And so many times we are missed and passed over in life because we're so afraid to share who we are. So you can be brilliant and not share your story. And this is why I do what I do, but still be passed by for opportunities that you deserve to have. So don't be discouraged. And if you're still breathing, there's still opportunity for you to meet your purpose and do what it is you were created to do on this earth. So build your brand, share your story. Don't be afraid to do it. Learn what that means and then go out and do it.
Such an inspiring message. And thank you so much. I loved it. And as I said earlier, I enjoyed every bit of this conversation. And I'm sure it is going to add a lot of value to the TGV community. Thanks once again for your time and the wonderful insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so that was our episode with Mila. And folks, before we move into the trivia section, here is a request to you. In case if you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe from the app where you have tuned in from. And also, if you have loved this episode and found the conversation useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from the guiding voice. Thank you so much in advance. Now let's hop into the trivia segment. Today's trivia is about the power of employees' personal brands. Mila has shared a lot of insights in terms of how to build unstoppable brand. And today I'm going to talk about how social media of employees can help the brands expand their reach. As per an article on entrepreneur.com, it is mentioned that when brand messages are shared by employees on social media, they get whopping 561% more reach than the same messages shared by the brand's social media handles. And brand messages are reshared 24 more times frequently when posted by an employee versus the brand's social media channels. And on average, employees have 10 times more followers than their company's social media accounts. And that is the reason content shared by employees receives at least 8 times more engagement than content shared by brand channels. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and involve your employees in terms of propagating your brand message. And also, if you have done something well already, please share your strategy in the form of comments, or you can reach out to me through social media. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And folks, you can also share your topic recommendations or guest speaker suggestions either through social media or email me at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. I am Naveen, just a fellow IT professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make the world a better place to live. Until next time, bye-bye. See you all in the next episode with another inspiring guest.